Welcome into OutKick the show. I am your fearless leader, Clay Travis. I hope all of you are having fantastic Mondays, wherever you may be across the country or around the world. Had an awesome time up in Michigan over the weekend, celebrating my father-in-law, Patrick Smith-Bauer's 80th birthday. That was a lot of fun, and I am now back here in the great state of Tennessee, where I spent the morning hanging out with Senator Marsha Blackburn, who I believe is going to be the next governor, to talk about why the state of Tennessee is awesome. And that certainly is true. So that is what I have been up to of late. I'm going to be at the White House Correspondents' Dinner on Saturday with Fox. President Trump and Melania will be there. My wife is very excited that she will get to wear a nice dress. She will be good looking. I will be, unfortunately, not so good looking, but welcome to my life and welcome to the OutKick life. So that is a little bit of the horizon of where we're headed. I'll talk about Iran, a WNBA lesbian love affair, which I didn't know anything about. The Mets disaster, Top Gun 3, American Eagle, A.J. Brown. But we begin with the NFL draft is here. And it does not appear to be the case that there is any drama whatsoever about who the number one overall pick is going to be. It is going to be Fernando Mendoza. Then it appears that the drama, if we pull this up, because I was looking at the gambling odds on who's going to be taken second, who's going to be taken third, and the drama started this morning early on draft week. So the new topic is, where is Jeremiah Love going to go? Okay, and so I think this is now going to become the new storyline, at least for the start of this week. There has been the expectation that the Titans are likely to take potentially Jeremiah Love at number 4 overall, running back from Notre Dame. Now, let me give you my pitch on why the Titans taking him number 4 overall makes sense, okay? Because they need a lot of weapons. I'm a Titans fan. I've been a season ticket holder basically for my entire life. I've already bought tickets in the new stadium, which is going to open next football season, not this football season. And I will be there based on how much I have spent for a generation more, hopefully, along with my family watching the Titans. At some point in time, I would like for them to win a Super Bowl. That is my dream, okay? Now, the reason why I like Jeremiah Love at number 4 overall for the Titans is because Cam Ward needs a lot of help. And I think having a good running game can help substantially your defense and help to take control of the game. Because if you can gain yards, it's no great shakes. This is no unbelievable realization. But if you can take and gain rushing yardage on first and second down, you set up your young second-year quarterback in Cam Ward to have much more advantageous situations, because the difference in the NFL between 3rd and 2 or 3 and 3rd and 8 or 9 is seismic. And if you look at the numbers, 3rd and 8 or 9, basically the NFL is a passing league. And the teams that win have quarterbacks that can regularly convert on 3rd and long when everybody knows you must pass. Okay? That is the reality. But it is also the situation that if your young quarterback can be put into second and first down situations, which are normal, by 3rd down, when it's often a passing yard in the yardage situation in the NFL, there is much greater likelihood of success. Now, Jeremiah Love, I think, will be a very successful running back. But, and this is where I think it is so transformative, he is already elite as a pass catcher out of the backfield. And I think the Titans would be able to deploy him as a default wide receiver on short yardage plays in the passing game, as well as a proverbial security blanket for second-year starting quarterback Cam Ward. So I think the Titans should. I'm on the record. I understand people say, "Oh, you can't take a running back that early." I disagree. Okay, right now with where the Titans are, taking a running back number 4 overall is, given where top running backs now get paid, not a crazy move. Now, there's not a great value on it. I get it. I understand that argument. But if you look at where high draft pick running backs or running backs that have proven themselves now are valued, it's not a crazy proposition. Now, again, from the Titans' perspective, I would prefer they trade back all the time and get more picks because they've done a poor job with their draft picks historically. Now, I give you all that prelude because Jeremiah Love to the Titans at 4 makes sense, and the new storyline is the Arizona Cardinals seem to believe it too. Because the Arizona Cardinals, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong on any of these facts, draft 3rd. And this morning, they told their boy Adam Schefter, hey, let's get the story out that we potentially are going to take Jeremiah Love at number 3 overall. Why? Because they want to try and create value for the 3rd overall pick. And they know the Titans are likely to take Love at 4. And so they leak, hey, we might take him at 3. And if you want to get Jeremiah Love, not only might we take him at 3, but you better trade up to get him because the Titans are otherwise going to take him at 4. So they are trying to unlock value. I think the Arizona Cardinals here, to me, this is transparent, are looking for somebody to trade up so they can trade back because they don't particularly love their options at the 3rd pick. And much like the Titans, they have a lot of needs and they would rather get multiple picks, and they're hoping that they can drive someone to be willing to trade up to the 3rd pick. So that is the drama there. The other drama, well, still, is what's going to happen with A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown has been a diva wide receiver for many years now. He seems to have burned out his welcome at the Philadelphia Eagles, and a simultaneously report came out this morning that A.J. Brown was likely to end up on the Patriots. I believe after June 1st was the date that was in discussion there. Now, it was only a few years ago, for those of you who remember, that the Philadelphia Eagles traded with the Tennessee Titans. They gave up their pick, the Eagles did, in exchange with the Titans for A.J. Brown. Titans then went into the draft with confidence. Unfortunately, it was misguided confidence, and said, we are going to go draft Treylon Burks. You can go back and check my Twitter feed. I remember exactly where I was when this news broke. I was at Universal Studios in Orlando, Florida, and I was there with my 2 youngest kids. My wife was at the time finishing her law degree. I believe she was in the middle of exams. She had something going on, so she couldn't go on this trip with the boys. It was me, my youngest son, and my middle son, and we were staying at the resort in Universal Studios, and we were in the middle of Universal Studios. We came back that evening. We got a bunch of snacks. It's really one of the fun things about being a dad. We had all this food arrayed in front of us. We were all excited to watch the draft. And then, boom, I looked down at my phone, and the Titans have traded A.J. Brown. And I remember this very well. And you can go back and look at my Twitter feed from that night. I didn't like the move because for my entire life, the Titans had been looking for an elite game-breaking wide receiver. Memorably, the Titans passed on Randy Moss and drafted Kevin Dyson instead. I love Kevin Dyson. He's an awesome guy. He is, I believe, either a principal or vice principal. I think he's a principal now of a school in Nashville. He got his doctorate. He was part of the Music City Miracle. He was a fantastic and is a fantastic member of the Nashville community. But he wasn't Randy Moss. And the Titans needed a receiver that year, and they passed on Randy Moss. Vikings drafted Randy Moss after the Titans took Kevin Dyson. Kevin Dyson had a good, not great career, and Randy Moss is one of the greatest receivers in the history of the NFL. Titans finally got A.J. Brown, game breaker, phenomenal talent, and then they traded him, and basically the Titans fell apart afterwards. Soon thereafter, Mike Vrabel was out, and now Mike Vrabel is the head coach of the New England Patriots, and he is going to get A.J. Brown back the offseason after he went to the Super Bowl. I bring all this to full picture because basically the Titans gave up A.J. Brown, their chance at ever being good, and they got rid of Mike Vrabel, I think partly as a result of that trade. Treylon Burks has still basically never done anything in the NFL, so they gave up one first-round pick, got a first-round pick, gave up A.J. Brown, who they drafted in the second round, maybe the only really good draft that the Titans ever had, which was the one in Nashville. For those of you who remember, A.J. Brown was the second-round pick of the Titans the year the draft was in Nashville. First-round pick was Jeffrey Simmons. Basically, every other first and second round pick the Titans have had since was a bust, but they got 2 All-Pros, Jeffrey Simmons, who's still with the Titans, A.J. Brown, and now it looks like A.J. Brown is going to the Patriots. What's the impact of A.J. Brown going to be on the Patriots franchise? Good. You've got Mike Vrabel, who's a strong leader. You've got Drake May, who will be entering into his 3rd year as a quarterback. And you will have a game-breaking wide receiver that has a great relationship with his head coach, Mike Vrabel, and will fit, I think, into the culture that Vrabel has created there. Because remember, A.J. Brown didn't really create that much of a stir. He was nothing like the A.J. Brown that he's been with the Eagles when he was with the Titans. So I think that we are going to see a phenomenal A.J. Brown as a part of the Patriots if that news story ends up coming to fruition. Okay. A couple of other things that are out there. The Mets. Do we have video of the Mets? I don't know if we have video of the Mets or not. So let me start with this. My Atlanta Braves, the company is setting record highs in its stock price. The Atlanta Braves are on fire. They are 15-7. They have opened up a 5-game lead in the division. The stock price, as I am speaking to all of you before it closes on Monday, has hit yet another. Let me make sure I'm right about this. I was earlier today. The Atlanta Braves have hit, yes, yet another record high. Atlanta Braves stock over $54 a share as I am speaking to you. It's up over $1 a share today. I told you this a while back. I said I am buying Atlanta Braves stock. You can buy it. They own all of the batteries surrounding the ballpark. They own the franchise. Right now, the market cap of the Atlanta Braves, $3.7 billion. Okay? Atlanta Braves market cap, $3.7 billion. Now, they have some debt worth acknowledging. But correct me if I'm wrong, the Wall Street Journal reported the San Diego Padres are proposed to sell for $3.9 billion. Okay? San Diego Padres, $3.9 billion. We know the Lakers raised recently, sold a part of the franchise for, I believe, $10 billion, majority of the franchise from the Buss family, if I'm not mistaken. And when the Lakers sold for $10 billion, I tweeted, the Atlanta Braves are worth way more than they are trading for right now on the stock market. I don't have to be an expert. I am a Brave shareholder. I tell you sometimes what stocks I have bought and the ones I'm holding long term. I said if the Lakers are worth $10 billion, the Atlanta Braves are wildly undervalued. Now we get news that the Padres are reportedly selling for $3.9 billion. Let me tell you something. The Braves are worth more than the Padres. They have a bigger fan base than the Padres do. They have a new Braves Cast network, which is going phenomenally well. I watch the Braves almost every night. This is a result of COVID to a large extent. I was a huge baseball fan growing up, stopped watching Major League Baseball. During COVID, my youngest son, we watched the Braves every night. 60-game season, whatever the heck it was. We started watching the Braves before that. He's a middle son, big baseball fan. He became a huge Braves fan. The whole family are Braves fans now. We watch the Braves. Not kidding. We'll have them on every single night that they play in this house. And the Atlanta Braves are now 15-7. The biggest rival of the Atlanta Braves, maybe the Mets. I think it's probably the Mets. Certainly the Phillies are up there. But it's the Phillies or it's the Mets probably, right, as the biggest rival of the Atlanta Braves. The Mets have lost 11 straight games. And this is now the Mamdani curse. The mayor of New York City walking in the underbelly of the Mets Stadium, Citi Field, I think, right? Used to be Shea Stadium. And here he is, Mrs. Met and Mr. Met go in for big hugs with Mamdani, and they appear to be super excited to meet him, okay? Since that hug happened, since this interaction happened, since this love affair between Mamdani and the Mets mascots, Mr. and Mrs. Met, the Mets have lost 11 straight games. They have not lost since, I think 12 is the record going all the way back in the history of the franchise to 1962. So the Mets are on the midst of the Mamdani curse. They have fallen apart. It's hard to lose 11 straight baseball games, even if you're an awful team. The Mets are in danger of playing themselves out of entire season competition while we're still looking at April. In fact, I will pull this up. I know the Braves have a 5-game lead in the division already over second place. I think the Mets are now, the Braves just swept the Phillies. I think the Mets are now, let me make sure that I get this right. I believe the Mets are now like 7 games back already, and we've only played 22 games. So the Mets are in danger. They're 8 games back. I apologize. 7-15 on the year, the exact mirror image of the Braves 15-7. Go Mets. And if Tommy Lahren is watching this, she's turned into a big Mets fan because of familial relationships with the coaching staff. Her husband is awesome. I like him a lot. The Mets are falling apart. And notwithstanding that, I love to see it. All right. I thought I knew everything about lesbians on the internet. Turns out I did not know everything about lesbians on the internet because this clip went viral over the weekend, basically. I didn't know. I know the WNBA draft. It happened last week. It's not going to shock you that I was not waiting with bated breath for the WNBA draft. I knew that the WNBA draft was happening. I didn't really know who was drafted. I certainly didn't know anything about the players and the relationships between the players on the teams. So evidently last year, the Dallas team drafted Paige Bueckers. She was from UConn, very talented player. And her girlfriend, I didn't know this, is evidently named Azzi Fudd. Paige Bueckers and Azzi Fudd sounds like totally made-up names, but they are real people, and they are back-to-back number 1 overall draft picks in the WNBA. And Azzi Fudd, who also played at UConn, which is where their lesbian relationship evidently began, has now been drafted to play in the backcourt alongside of her lesbian lover, Paige Bueckers. And I had no idea this has happened until this clip went viral, and I saw it on my social media feed. That one of the reporters there said, hey, I'm going to ask you basically about this relationship. You've got 2 different players that are on the same team in the same backcourt who have been drafted number 1 overall and are in a relationship. And this was what happened. Look as the Dallas PR team jumps in and tries to end this line of questioning. Watch.
Paige announced last year on TikTok that y'all were a couple. And I'm wondering if that is still the case. And if so, if y'all have talked to any other couples in the league about how they negotiate that dynamic as pro teammates.
I understand why you have to ask that question, but we're going to respectfully decline from commenting on our players' personal lives. Go to the next question.
Okay, so this is an eminently reasonable question. And if you want to take it outside of the WNBA for a moment, imagine how big of a story it would be if in any men's pro sports league, first of all, the same team had back-to-back number 1 picks. That doesn't happen that often. But if they drafted a gay player in pick 1, I don't think people would really care that much if he was talented. But then in the next year, if they drafted number 1 overall, his gay lover, I think a lot of people would say, oh, wow, wait a minute. This is pretty significant. So here's how we dive in here. Evidently, I'm mispronouncing Paige Bueckers, whatever her name is, last name. Nobody cares. Okay, but full disclosure, Adam on OutKick's team here tells me that I've been mispronouncing her name. Nobody knows. Nobody cares. Okay, but whatever. Pretend that I pronounced her name correctly. Point here is it would be a huge story. It would be an unbelievably huge story, and everybody would talk about it. And many people would say, wait a minute, did they draft the best player? Or did they draft their best player's boyfriend or girlfriend? And what happens if they might break up? How is the relationship, the fact that you have effectively a couple as a part of your overall team, going to impact the outcome? I don't know. I don't know how common this is. I don't think there are gay relationships that often inside of male pro sports franchises, to my knowledge. And I do think that this may have happened more frequently in the WNBA. I don't know. But certainly it happens before in the WNBA. I just don't know how frequent it is. I know this has never occurred. It's a huge story. And the WNBA, whether it's the commissioner last week saying, I think it was last week, oh, I wonder if you would ask a man that question, or in the midst of a press conference stepping in and saying, no, we're not going to allow these questions to be answered. The WNBA wants to be treated as a big-time league, but anytime they are treated like a big-time league, they lose their minds. Same thing happened with Caitlin Clark. This is a big story, and you have an obligation, I believe, to address it. Now, we can argue about whether it's going to be impactful or not. What we cannot argue about is the fact that it's a huge story and that you created this huge story intentionally. Now, I don't know what the impact is going to be, but I do think that having a relationship in the backcourt is probably not ideal. I'll just be transparent about this. And whether you're, married, straight, whatever you are, whether you're gay, imagine that two of the most important jobs inside of your company are you and your wife or you and your husband. And imagine that you got divorced or you broke up. That's a huge issue anywhere. And it's why a lot of times companies prefer that top employees not date. And it's why you have to all the time disclose these kind of relationships inside of a company, because many companies try to work to keep their top employees from dating. I don't know. It's a good question. Is there any major company in America where the CEO and the CFO are in a relationship? I'm not sure that exists at any major company anywhere in America. Again, CEO and CFO are dating or are married. I'm not sure that would exist anywhere. And I think most people would say, we do not want that, right? I'm talking about big companies. I'm sure there are lots of companies that are smaller where husband and wife are both on the board together and they're running a company together. That for small business is not super uncommon. But for a major public corporation, it would be, I don't think it's ever happened. I can't ever remember it occurring. For a major pro sports franchise to have its two highest paid, I presume these are the two highest paid, because the salaries in the WNBA have been low and draft picks are typically number one overall draft picks, some of the highest compensated, highly compensated players in the league. To have its two top compensated players dating is crazy to me. If I ran the Dallas Stars, I wouldn't have drafted the girlfriend of my former my last number one pick. I just wouldn't have done it. I would have said the risk here is too huge. And by the way, if I had a gay quarterback who I drafted number one overall, the next year I wouldn't draft his gay lover number one overall, even if he was a talented player. I just wouldn't want the drama inside of my locker room. They can date. They can play on different teams. So I think it's a big story. And it is interesting that the WNBA basically only makes news when it does interesting or crazy things off the court, right? Or it's like a super crazy foul, or somebody throws a dildo on the court. Now we got number one, back-to-back years, lesbian lovers. And somebody said in the comments, they're like, oh, the word lesbian's outdated, Clay. I don't know. LGBTQ is still a thing. Is it a silent L? Does the word lesbian not get used anywhere? And people would say, oh, you're just talking about this because this is no. It would be a much bigger story. Can you imagine an NFL team, back-to-back number one draft picks are gay lovers? I made a joke about this, but the Titans would clearly be the team to do that. And then they would break up and both of them would be like, I just can't play football anymore. My heart's broken. Every time I pick up a football, it reminds me too much of the game. This is just Titans luck. But it is a huge story, and I'm surprised that it isn't receiving more attention than in the past. To me, this is a big story, and I'm probably going to talk about it on the OutKick show, in fact, tomorrow, even during NFL Draft Week. Okay, a couple of other stories. American Eagle. American Eagle has Daisy Duke jean shorts that are being modeled by Sydney Sweeney. Sydney Sweeney, I believe we have a side-by-side from End Wokeness. This was on the left, the American Eagle 2019 advertising campaign for their jeans. On the right is the American Eagle 2026 advertising campaign for their jeans. Which do you think is going to sell more jeans? Now, I've talked about this before, but I had a job at American Eagle. I actually sold jeans, a lot of khakis back in the day. My first ever job was Media Play. I worked at a company called Media Play. Some of you will remember it in Goodlettsville, Tennessee. We sold CDs, books, video games, every form of media, all rolled into one. My very first job was retail Media Play. I worked in the book section there. And then I left the book section at Media Play, and I went and I worked at American Eagle. This is probably 1995-ish. I worked at American Eagle. I got paid $4.50, if I remember correctly, an hour. And it was an amazing job. I worked at Rivergate Mall, which just got torn down, at the American Eagle there, $4.50, 95, 96, 97. If your mom was good looking and lived in North Nashville, if your aunt was good looking and lived in North Nashville, if your sister was good looking and lived in North Nashville and ever shopped at American Eagle, I probably hit on her because this was the greatest job of all time. I was 16 years old and I worked at a retail store, and everybody that walked in, every pretty girl, I had a reason to go talk to them. So all day long, pretty girls came in, Clay Travis making $4.50 an hour, just throwing game at every pretty girl that walked into American Eagle from 1995 to like 1999. It might have been 96 to 99. I don't remember exactly the years. I worked there while I was in college too. May have gone up to even the year 2000, something like that. And so I know American Eagle well. I owned a lot of American Eagle. I think we got 40% off. So I had every possible American Eagle form of apparel. Okay. Reason why I bring all this up. This is, I think, if we put back up that picture, emblematic of the fact that we were told a lie. And this was a disaster. And now that everybody can get on Ozempic, this whole body positivity era is vanishing. Nobody wants to be fat. Nobody wants to be fat. Everybody wants to look like Sydney Sweeney. Every girl, white, black, Asian, and Hispanic, wants to look like that in jean shorts, okay? Everybody does. And every guy wants to date a girl that looks like Sydney Sweeney in those jean shorts. We all know this to be true. When Victoria's Secret started telling us, hey, we need trans models, we need put fat chicks in lingerie, no women want to look awful in lingerie. No women want to look bad in their jean shorts. Most of us are unattractive like me, but most people want to be better looking. This is why when you watch movies, movie stars tend to be better looking than regular people. Regular people stars does not work because people want to look better than they actually do. And now the body positivity era has just vanished because Ozempic is here and everybody's out there taking medicine, pills, shots, whatever the heck it is, and they are dropping weight like crazy. And what we are learning is what I always told you and what everybody understands to be true: sex sells. There's a reason why I'm not an underwear model. If I were an underwear model, nobody would buy the underwear that I modeled because I don't look like the guys on the cover of the underwear model. If you doubt me, go just buy any apparel. They don't have fat, ugly dudes selling underwear. And most guys are fat and ugly. People want to look better than they do, male or female, and they are buying the illusion that if they are in this gear, they will look like Sydney Sweeney did. Or back in the day, remember when we would all buy Michael Jordan shoes? We were convinced that we would jump as high as Michael Jordan. All of fashion, all of it is aspirational. Every single bit of fashion is about making people feel like they will look better if they simply own this particular product. And we're back to American Eagle stock. I'll look at it right now as I'm talking to all of you. American Eagle stock has skyrocketed since Sydney Sweeney started modeling their gear. In fact, the stock has basically doubled in, in June of 2025, when this whole Sydney Sweeney story started for the first time. American Eagle stock was about $9.50 a share. It now is $20, and it has roughly doubled in the 10 months since they started advertising Sydney Sweeney. And I give credit to American Eagle for doubling and tripling and quadrupling down on this. Okay, is the last thing that I haven't talked about that I got two things. Top Gun 3 is coming. I will guarantee you that when Top Gun 3 comes out, I will be in the crowd watching Top Gun 3 the moment it comes out. And I was reading OutKick this morning, and I saw that Ian Miller has a story up from OutKick. And he said Tom Cruise made $100 million on Top Gun 2. $100 million. Company made, $1 billion basically. Tom Cruise made $100 million. Daily Mail has reported, and Ian Miller has written on it, that Tom Cruise is likely to make $135 million on Top Gun 3. And I say, more power to him. I will be there. I cannot wait. Good for Tom Cruise. Okay, let's see. I want to pull this up. Over the weekend, there was a story that came out, and it said, hey, who are the most influential news voices? And I've got this in front of me right now. You guys can put it up on the screen. Buck and I were just talking about this on the radio show. Most influential voice in news, Joe Rogan, followed by Sean Hannity, Greg Gutfeld, Elon Musk, Mark Levine. That is the top five. Okay? Okay. And then Jimmy Kimmel, Stephen Colbert. I'm looking for people on the left. A bunch of left-wing comedians are actually the most influential news voices. And by the way, I was down, I think, at 26 overall. I was tied with Mehdi Hassan, underneath Matt Walsh and Gayle King, right above Candace Owens and John Oliver. So you can zoom in. I don't know if it's possible to zoom in, but you can trust me, I'm down there. And I did think this was interesting. Buck and I were just talking about it, because I think primarily what you're seeing is no one from CNN was on this list. No one from CNN on this list. Only Rachel Maddow from MSNBC. Basically, the left influence doesn't come from people who talk about news. It comes from comedians. And I thought this was particularly interesting because it brings to bear the criticism of Brendan Carr, FCC chair, that the reality is what we have right now going on is a situation where the Stephen Colberts, the Jimmy Kimmels, that world, also the what's the other guy? I got to pull them up because a lot of these guys I don't know. They're not actually comedians anymore. They are news influencers who are claiming that they're doing a news show, and in reality, that is not what they're doing. And so that's why I think that the entirety of the late night host universe needs to be remade. And if these guys want to do podcasts or they want to do shows and they want to advocate for left-wing beliefs, more power to them. But right now what they're doing is claiming that they are in the entertainment business, but actually they're doing left-wing political propaganda. Now, you could agree or disagree with me in everything that I say on this list. You can see that I'm somewhat influential according to this survey. But I tell you exactly what I think. And if you think I'm a moron or you think the arguments that I make have zero basis in legitimacy, you're welcome to argue that, but I'm not pretending I'm doing anything other than just sharing my actual opinion. And so I do think that list is worthy of contemplating for the list illustrating where left-wing influencers are coming from. And it's while they're claiming to be doing comedy shows, it's actually just an in-kind contribution to the Democrat Party. Okay, one other thing, Iran. I jotted this down. We spent a lot of time talking about it. And I do think it's significant. To me, what does a reasonable solution look like for the United States? And before I get into that, I would just say we're at all-time record highs in the stock market. Gas prices have begun to come back down. And I would just point out to all of you that the best thing you can do is buy and hold, and don't worry about the day-to-day movement of stocks. Just buy and hold. Trust me on it. You'll be glad that you did it. I think two things. One, we need to get, if we can, if it's feasible, the actual nuclear dust from Iran. That is, we've struck the locations in Iran that we believe were in the process of enriching uranium to create nuclear bombs. If we can seize the nuclear dust, I even joked that in order for left-wing media to believe this war was a success, Trump's going to need to hold up the nuclear dust on the Truman balcony like it's Simba from The Lion King. And so we need to get the nuclear dust in some way. And then the strait needs to be fully open and understood that we're not going to have to worry about terrorism or from the Iranians or a blockade from the U.S. And I think those two things would be successful for the United States. And the two things that I think Iran wants is the regime that's in power right now that has been wiped out, the new power. They want to stay, and they want their assets that have been seized to be unfrozen. That feels like a reasonable resolution to me that would leave the United States in a strong position and would put us in a position, you may have seen that I bet over the weekend and said, I do believe that by November, you can clip this, you can share it. I think by November, the price of oil and gas will be back down to where it was in late February, back down to around $3 a gallon for what your average person pays across the United States. Okay. I believe that is the entirety. Get ready for the NFL draft. I appreciate all of you. Thank you for your support of both me and of OutKick. DBAP, unless you need to SBAP. I'm Clay Travis, and this has been OutKick, the show.